Jed, you can begin whenever you're comfortable.
Okay, I'll start now. Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jed. I'm the mayor of Claremont. I'm on the end of my first term on the Claremont City Council. I was elected in 2018. I'm running for re-election in the newly formed District 4, where I live. I live on Town Avenue. My son goes to Conard Elementary. I would love to have your endorsement because my values align with that of this organization. I've been a staunch supporter of housing affordability, increased services for mental health, increasing capacity for the city to address issues like poverty. I sit on a lot of regional governing organizations and boards that speak to and work directly on those issues. I'm the chair of the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust. I'm the chair of Tri-City Mental Health Governing Board. I represent SCAG on the MSRC, the Mobile Source Reduction Review Committee, which oversees clean air transportation funding. I think that my track record speaks for itself. I've been a staunch advocate to increase affordable housing throughout the city. I funded the first affordable housing development in over 15 years, 956 West Baseline Road. That'll be breaking ground this year. 15 units of extremely low and low income housing for our city's most vulnerable people. I introduced a lot of new and initiatives at Tri-City Mental Health, specifically culturally competent mental health. Agency boards comprised of people with lived experience with mental health issues from particular communities. And I'd love to continue serving Claremont for 4 more years. Hope you'll support me.
Thanks, Jed. Merrill, you're positioned to ask our first question. So would you kindly ask Jed our first question?
You're also the father of Wells, right? You forgot that. Hi,
Sorry,
Jed. Look, this is about water and about housing. Should Claremont allow more housing other than affordable housing to be built in this time of great water shortage?
Merrill, I wanted you to know that that question is a question I get all the time. And let's just be very clear. Water shortage is not a reason to stop housing production. There is enough water to provide housing for all people who need it. And the state of California's track record in providing housing for everybody who needs it is anemic. For the last 40 years, we've needed at least 180,000 housing units per year just to keep pace with population growth. And we've rarely cracked 100,000 housing units a year. In the last 40 years, the water usage per person in housing and residential uses has continued to go down. And in the state of California, agriculture accounts for 80% of all water usage. And of that remaining 20%, 10% of it goes to business and irrigation. So realistically, human consumption, basic necessities like bathing, cooking, cleaning, in the grand scheme of things, those do not account for enough water usage to justify not building and providing enough housing for the residents of the state of California, for the city of Claremont.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jed. Jed, I'm going to ask the next question because our second questioner is not here yet. I wanted to ask you about something that we're hearing at different spots on the campaign trail about the underfunded or unfunded employee pension liabilities. Do we have a problem there? If so, why? If not, why not? And if we do have a problem, what do you see as a way towards addressing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you that all cities struggle with pensions, and there's a very simple reason for that. And that is because decades ago, agencies gave benefits that they couldn't afford. And the benefits that they couldn't afford from decades ago are what we call classic employees, where people were allowed to retire really, really early, and they were given a really high amount of benefits relative to their incomes. And there were some very strong common sense reforms adopted in 2013, specifically PEPRA, the Public Employees Pension Reform Act, adopted by the state. If you talk to impartial analysis, like there are people at the League of Cities and at SCAG who crunch these numbers. The fact that we have unfunded pension liability, that is an issue, but that number is not due tomorrow. That number is due over the course of years, and that debt is amortized. Now, the thing about it is that when pension liabilities, when the entire system of pensioners becomes more PEPRA people and less classic people under the revised and amended benefit guideline, then we'll start to see a very strong correction in the favor of the public agencies. It's just a matter of time. When I was a candidate and I didn't know a lot about this, and I was running and I didn't have any experience in government, I was willing to explore and consider any and all possibilities of what things can we do to address this. And I have very ripe conversations with people who said, why don't we go to, defined contribution programs instead of defined benefit programs like public agency 401s and things like that. And after talking to a lot of impartial analysis who gave me the facts and numbers on this, we really just need to get through that initial and current wave of annuitants who are under the classic program. And once the PEPRA employees take over, then there'll be a strong correction. So I'm confident that Claremont and all public agencies will be in a stronger position in the future because of PEPRA.
Thank you, Jed.
Chris, I can ask Mike's question for him if there's time to slip it in.
Well, I was going to, if you would defer, Merrill, I was going to ask Richard Haskell. Richard, I hate to put you on the spot like this with no preparation. If you don't feel comfortable, we'll let Merrill ask Mike's question. But Mike was going to ask an environment-oriented question, and I'm just wondering if you have one that you're ready to ask right away of Jed.
Well, I of course I do.
And he's got 2 minutes to answer.
I'm just coming from a, okay. So Jed, I wonder if you could comment on transportation in the city. There's so much to be said about it. And I think there are so many folks who would like alternative to motor vehicles, to their internal combustion engine, bikes, walking, scooters, and, now electric bikes and so forth. What do you see as the future? How would you advise groups, organizations in the city to focus their efforts and support towards something that makes sense for our future?
Thanks for the question. That's a really good topic. And when we received our American Rescue Plan Act funding, one of the things that I absolutely demanded that we include in that is an incentive program and a credit program to make sure that we get in on the electric bike wave right now. Other cities, and especially more cities west of us, the amount of people who are commuting now using electric bikes, you have families who are taking kids to school and going to the grocery store, doing all of their basic daily transportation needs using electric bicycles. So we set aside $100,000 specifically for rebates that would encourage people to invest in alternative modes of transportation, specifically electric bicycle usage. Now, I just want to say, it's the same thing with electric cars. When the product came out, you needed government-backed rebates to get people interested and make it financially viable for people to do. And I think that we have to step up to the plate and use some of our ARPA funding to encourage that. But let me also tell you, we can't just rebate the vehicles, rebate the electric bikes and the actual transportation units. We also have to think about the way that we engineer and plan for and continue to maintain our city. I mean, when we think about repaving a road, we need to repave it so that it's safer for cyclists and pedestrians and scooters, not just cars. It is frankly offensive how much emphasis we put on vehicle convenience for the engineering and planning of our roads. That's why I was proud for our council to adopt the Complete Streets policy, which was adopted in the very first year of my first term on the council. But that said, the Complete Streets policy is only a vehicle or a method of considering new possibilities in maintenance, not in redesign. It's in maintenance. So when we maintain a road, we think about these things. I'd like to see us take the next step and actually re-engineer them, not just because they're crumbling, but because we need to make them safe for bikes and for walkers.
Okay, thanks, Jed. Jed, you have 2 minutes now for a closing statement. and then we're going to go on to our next interview. So
Okay,
you can
that's
ask
fine.
questions or you can make a closing statement. It's your pick.
Well,
What do
I'm
you
happy
want?
to make a closing statement, but I see that Joe Lyons has his hand up. I'm happy to cede the 2 minutes to him if he wants to ask a question. I mean, Chris, it's your meeting. I'll do it however you want to do it.
Okay,
Well,
so
Chris,
Joe, how about if you ask a question, but Jed's got to finish in 2 minutes. Go
I
ahead.
was told I had a question to ask too.
Well, Jed's got to finish in 2 minutes because we have someone else after Jed. Joe, go ahead. Joe, you are muted.
I've mentioned this before at council meetings and to you, Jed. Is there any way that you can think of the council engaging our brain trust in this community, both the college at the college level and residential residents, to come to the fore and put together some committees that can give long range thinking to the issues that confront the city?
You know, how to build long-standing relationships with agencies that don't have a financial obligation to provide us that. Let me just tell you, it's a challenge. I do though want to tell you that relative to that, I have made it a point to check in with college presidents in my first term in office, setting up standing meetings, even if I had nothing in particular to discuss with them, just as a way to say hello, show my face, shake their hands, share with them what I was up to, and ask them what they were up to. And so I think that maintaining that relationship is the first step. I think extracting a concrete commitment to help provide deliverables on our behalf is another. But I think that being able to access that relationship based on maintaining it regularly is really important.
Jed,
Thank
my
you.
question
John,
is an easy
John,
question.
John,
How much
you
money
have
of
to
our
move
city
on.
would you?
John, I'm sorry, we have to move on to our next interview. So Jed, thank you very much for
Thank you all.
interviewing with us. And then we will move on to our next interview. Good luck to you,
Take care.
Jed.
Bye.
Thank you. Hi, Ed, are you able to hear me?
I can. Let me get my camera up for you.
Okay. Ed, I want to thank you for being resourceful and working together with us and with Mike to schedule you for now. So I really appreciate that.
Well, I
And
appreciate you guys working with me and Mike working with me. I see you down there, Mike, in my lower right corner.
okay. So Ed, you saw the format. We're going to let you make an opening statement, after which we have 3 questions lined up. The first from John Forney, the second from Merrill Ring, the last from Mike Booz, and then you have 2 minutes for a closing statement, or you could just ask us questions if you want. It's more informal at that point. So whenever you're ready and you feel comfortable, Ed, go ahead and begin.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to chat with me this evening. You know, there's a lot of things that has happened over the last 4 years that I'm very much proud of. And I believe I listed some of that information, but I would like to kind of just highlight some things, which is the approval of low-income senior housing development that we did on Baseline, something that was needed and something that we were able to complete in these 4 years. You know, we created the psychiatric assessment care team, the PAC team. What an unbelievable program that is. We have a number of cities and other government agencies that are looking at the PAC program and seeing, wow, we need to do this in our community. And I think it was the right choice, and I'm in full support of continuing the PAC program. Another item was this year, we're funding for the first time an ADU grant program. And I believe that using ADU as alternative housing option for our community is going to be a terrific option. The ADU grant program, in my vision, would require property owners to provide under market or below market rents for in exchange for the grant, those grant dollars. You know, we restored the community-based organization funding, which has been a pillar program in our community. Of course, if we talk about some financial things, right now, we have made the largest impact in our pension liabilities, reducing our pension liabilities. And we are now almost 80% funded, which is the gold standard in the state. So I think there's a lot more that we can do as an agency, but we have done a lot in the last 4 years. We've really moved the needle, quite frankly, more than we've moved it in some past years. And I'm very proud of that.
Thanks, Ed. Go ahead, John. Whenever you're ready, ask Ed the first question.
Ed, my question concerns Larkin Place. How much would you be willing to spend in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions? How much would you be willing to spend of our city money fighting the state's recent ruling on the easement?
Well, I'm not sure that there's a ruling, but let me just be frank with you on it. And because there is going to be a closed session on this item, our council has suggested that we not comment on this item at this time. Once we get through that, I'm happy to come back and comment on it and make some comments. But at this point, they've advised that all of us, all the council, not to comment on the letter that was received or any potential action from that letter.
Okay, thank you, Ed. John, do you have a follow-up question or a different question?
Well, the question is, should we fight this or should we accept that decision?
Well,
So-
I think as a general statement, again, I can't comment on the letter under the advice of our council, but as a general statement, I think there's not, how would I put this? I guess my point, my position on it is that we should look at it and look at all laws and verify whether we are operating within the law, and either do that, operate within the law, and if we are challenging the law, why? And for what do we have good grounds? For example, not all laws are great, right? Abortion. I disagree with the position that some states have on abortion, and that's their law, but it does not mean it's correct. And so the question that I have in general on any situation similar to this is, does the current law make sense? And if it does, then we operate within it. If it doesn't, then we have to look and see why not. And does it make sense to challenge it? Doesn't, and that may not make sense always.
Thank you, Ed. Merrill, go ahead, ask the next question, please.
I'm going to drop the question I was intending to ask in light of some things Ed already said. I'm going to use a version of Mike's question he didn't get to ask to Jed. Ed, new construction in Claremont, should they require gray water capture and electricity instead of gas?
Well, I think that would be awesome to do gray water capture. I know the Claremont Club is trying to do that, and they're really trying to move in that direction. They've asked for some assistance from me on how to do that and how to make that happen. So I think doing that would be fantastic. I think it's one of many ways that we should tackle the water issue. I think another way to tackle the water issue is, as a city, is to kind of be a leader and lean on our state legislature and our governor to look at ways to capture more water. We have not done any new reservoirs in over 50 years. And the question is why? Water is such a precious commodity. We should be addressing that. In regards to your question on electricity, I'm 100%, I have solar at home, and I'm 100% for solar and for using electricity as a primary method of powering a home and utilities in a home.
Okay, thank you, Ed. We'll turn next to Mike. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ed. So my question is, many people feel that the Village South was a missed opportunity to build transit-oriented low-income housing and to make a dent in our RENA obligations. Now, I know you have highlighted the ADUs and the work on that, and I think that's a step in the right direction. But considering what the needs are, where do you see another opportunity like, large opportunity like that in Claremont?
Well, I think there is potentially opportunity to look at a number of sites in which we can address low-income housing. I'm in support of low-income housing. I think it should be something that's addressed. I want to be cautious, though. I don't believe low-income housing should all be stuffed in one geographical area. I don't think that's positive in any nature or healthy in any nature for those that need low-income housing. So I think we do need to have low-income housing throughout the community, throughout the city. And that's one reason, quite frankly, that I champion the ADU grant program, because I think it's healthy to have this spread out throughout the entire community. Low-income housing spread out throughout the entire community. So I think there's great opportunity to still look at low-income housing opportunities in a number of developments or potential developments that could be in the works or coming in the future. But I would be really cautious in really focusing low-income in only one geographic area in the city.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Ed, now you have an opportunity for either a closing statement or you could ask us some questions. So,
Yeah,
Or you
thanks. There's a number of things that still need to be looked at and that we still need to work on, without saying homelessness, housing, our urban forest, our facilities. We need to look at making sure that we have our plans in place in regards to natural disasters. The winds that happen in January will come again. The question is not will they, but when will they come again? And so they will be coming. And so we need to make sure we have all of that in place. I also believe that we need to continue to work on our fiscal responsibility and fiscal management. I am happy to say when I took office almost 4 years ago, we were staring down a $2.5 million structural deficit. Just last year, we declared a $4.2 million surplus. And this year, all indications show that we will have a surplus as well this year. So we're headed in the right direction. Our operations in general is strong, it is healthy. And so I think there is tremendous opportunity to continue this momentum forward for the benefit of our community. I am also proud that I have support not only from Democrats, but from those across the aisle. I think it's important that we reach across the aisle and get people to come with us and join us on our journey. And so I'm proud to have that as well. Specifically, I am proud to be supported by Assemblymember Holden, Senator Portantino, and Congressmember Judy Chu for all endorsed me for re-election. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to meet with me and working with me. Thank you again, Mike, for working with me on that. And I do have to host our concert tonight. And so I'm proud to be able to do that. But thank you so much.
okay, thank you, Ed. Thanks for being with us tonight. We're going to pause now for a few minutes. We're going to let you get on with, I know you have a busy evening tonight, Ed. So thanks for chatting with us.
Yes,
we'll let
you're
you
welcome.
know results in a couple days. Thanks now.
Great. Take care.
Bye now. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, we are recording again. I'm going to let Jeff in. Hi, Jeff. Welcome. This is Chris Natikia. Are you able to hear?
Hi. Yep, I can hear you and see
There
you.
you are, Jeff. Okay. We have a larger crowd than I communicated to people, so that means there's a lot of interest in the candidates. Originally, I thought we'd have 3 to 6. We've got like in the high 20s, so we got a lot of interest.
All right.
In any case, I wanted to remind you that we are recording. We will post this on our club YouTube channel for members who are unable to make it tonight. And but whenever you're ready and comfortable, you can begin with a 2-minute opening statement.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you tonight. I really appreciate the consideration of this. My name is Jeff Hanlon. I'm a Claremont resident. and I'm running for the Division 3 representative of the Three Valleys Municipal Water District. I don't know if everyone is familiar with the water district, what it does or its importance, but this is an important public agency. Last year, more than $78 million passed through this agency. And it sets a leadership direction beyond just supplementing our water supply for our region of LA County. It sets a leadership direction on where we source our water, how we use our water. And as you all know, we are in crisis mode with water, our surface waters, and we are trying to wean ourselves off Colorado River sources. It promotes infrastructure that impacts our ability to use and source water and protect the environment for the next 100 years and more. And so this matters, who's on this board. The choice is kind of simple. Do we want an agency that promotes 20th century solutions to a 21st century problem? Or do we want an agency that is going to seek real sustainable solutions to our water issues? And I'm that candidate. So I think that if you were to endorse me as a candidate, I am the strongest running against the incumbent. And if I win, this board can swing to a 4-3 majority, those who favor conservation principles. I value the environment, human well-being, and transparent governance, which are things that this board needs more of. So I humbly ask for your endorsement and your vote come November. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. We're going to turn to Merrill now and give Merrill an opportunity to ask the first question. Go ahead, Merrill. Merrill, you're muted, my friend.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jeff. Your idea that every yard should have a gray water basin is really attractive. You described it beautifully. And you have Three Valleys. What you want Three Valleys to run a campaign in favor of that.
Yeah.
What does the board need in order to pull off that campaign? Do cities need to become involved?
Okay, so to pull off that campaign, I think cities should be involved. This is really about informing people about the cost savings, the water savings, and the more responsible beautification that they can do to their yard. If we were to use gray water from our homes to water our trees, to create basins with low drought-tolerant plantings, I think that there's a sort of a cultural shift that needs to happen in California, in Southern California, that local governments can be leaders on. And that is sort of changing how we see our urban and suburban landscapes, that these can be attractive ways of managing our yards. And so I think that local governments, as well as Three Valleys, the role in promoting this would be to help Clean Safe Water, for example, promote projects in conservation that could help homeowners do this, that could fund the production of the actual tools. It's quite simple, actually. You can build the retrofits for gray water and install them. And if we supported nonprofits, businesses, plumbers in our region to be able to offer that on a larger scale, I think it could make a difference. So it's at the consumer end, but I think Three Valleys and governments can really just let people know that this is possible, because I think a lot of people just don't.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I'm going to turn things over to Mike to ask our next question. So Mike, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jeff, for joining our group here. You had in a couple of places in your very thoughtful and detailed response to our questionnaire, you talk about the need to change our mindset, use and reuse mindset in one place, and then another place you talk about we need to fundamentally alter how we think about the resource itself. And so my question to you is, how do you do that as a board member? I mean, is this something that involves education or enforcement? Does the board have enforcement teeth? I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
Yeah. Well, that's a big question. How do we change our mindset to be more conservation minded and how we think about water? But I think, from the perspective of the board, again, as sort of a leadership role, as the board right now, its mindset is that the water is out there, we just need to go get it. And that's sort of the paradigm we've been operating in for, the past 150 years around here. And it means that we import a lot of our water from the Colorado, from upstate, et cetera. But reality is hitting us in the face. Those sources are becoming less and less each year. And so we need to start thinking about not simply new sourcing from afar, pulling from nature, if you will, but thinking about it more like, planet Earth being this a closed system, right? Well, so is Southern California in a certain way. And if we think about it as sort of spaceship Southern California, we can start thinking about, well, water needs to be reused in a smart way. We need to be cleaning, reusing, recycling, recharging our own aquifers with the water we're consuming. And actually, I think there's a lot of leadership in Southern California on this. I mean, look at Project Next, which is going to, in the next, 40 years, wastewater coming out of now I'm blanking, the major wastewater facility for LA. Anyway, being cleaned to a potable standard. Hyperion, thank you. The Hyperion plant, where that water is going to be cleaned to a drinkable standard and delivered straight back into our water system. And that is the plan on the ground. So I think we need to embrace that. Recycling water is not gross. It is what we need to do. And that's a mindset change. And so, forcing people from the sort of carrot, the stick in terms of policy change, I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of that on the board of Three Valleys, right? But incremental change can be made insofar as, if I'm there, we're not supporting the Cadiz project. We're not supporting go and get types of projects. I think we should be supporting use what we have in a more sensitive way. And that's smart. And that's true conservatism in a way. So.
Thanks, Jeff. Our next question is going to be posed by Carolee Monroe. Carolee, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thanks for your being a candidate for this Three Valleys board. In May, the Three Valleys board approved $15,000 to join a new organization called Solve the Water Crisis Coalition. And this money was for the initial 6 months of membership of the group to be in existence. And then when I looked at the documents, I presume there will be a renewal in September, because that's when the 6 months of this coalition will be up. Okay, so the coalition is a group of water agencies whose purpose is to be educational, and the audience is to be legislators and the state government. In one of its documents, it says that there has been insufficient state investment in infrastructure, and there have been regulatory logjams. So my question is, where has the state been insufficiently invested, and what regulatory logjams have there been?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I have the correct answer to this, as I'm not on the board, and I don't know what they were speaking to specifically, but it sounds like they had in their mind perhaps the slowdown of the Cadiz project, or of the ability to source new groundwater pumping. But I wish I could answer your question.
Well, it seems what happened is, when I first became aware of this group, there were 13 water agency members.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, there are now 25.
Okay.
So obviously they are forming a coalition.
Okay, so this is big. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it's going to be, what, $30,000 a year that the board is going to allocate to be a member.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to, I'm not supposed to put my own view on, but I'm wondering, they are finding the state to be at fault.
Right. Well,
And
yeah.
I wonder, where has the state been at fault?
I don't know. I don't know where it has been at fault. I can say I'm not surprised. And I actually don't necessarily disagree with this consortium of water districts or utilities. It's perfectly common for local governments and coalition governments like this to go and seek state money for local projects.
Mhm.
And so it may be that they're just using this as a way of lobbying for state monies towards these more local infrastructure projects. And maybe they'll see that it pays off, and it pays off to be a membership of this. But again, I don't know what the deficiencies at the state level would be, or if it was some sort of illegal withholding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I can't be more specific on that.
I noticed that Carlos Goita's on the call. Perhaps he could help.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, we're interviewing candidates now. We could have chit chat when we're done.
Okay.
Jeff, you've got a couple minutes now. You could either make a closing statement, or alternatively, you could ask us any questions. It's more informal now at this point.
Okay.
So it's your choice, whatever you want.
Yeah, I will. I would like to ask. I noticed that the questionnaire was quite pointed in terms of the questions on that. What are you looking for as a club out of your candidate?
Excellence.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Excellence.
Excellence.
And to replace Bocock.
Bocock out.
Okay, good. I'll take
No,
it.
you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Well, I want to then, as sort of closing, I want to say, I know that you're going to interview another candidate for this. My fundraising is up. You can find me online. I have a good coalition of people working behind me. Lots of behind the scenes support and upfront support from a lot of great and influential people in our district. And so I hope that you know that if you do give me an endorsement, I think you're backing a strong candidate for this. And I look forward to having a candidate forum with Bocock and talking about these issues face to face and in front of all of you. Oh, you're muted.
Jeff, thank you very much for appearing with us today. We'll let you get on with your evening, and then you'll hear a result in about 2 days from us. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care, all.
I'm going to pause the recording. Just give me a moment. Hi, Jen. Can you hear us? Okay. Welcome, Jen. I just want to remind you that we are recording right now, and you can begin whenever you feel comfortable. As you recall, you get a 2-minute opening statement, and then you'll get 3 questions, one from Merrill, one from Mike, then one from me. And then we have a closing statement, or you could ask questions. It's informal at that point. So whenever you're comfortable, you can begin.
Terrific. Thank you. First, I really would like the opportunity to say thank you so much for having these interviews. Earning the endorsement of the Democratic Club of Claremont would be very, very meaningful to me because of how much I respect all of you and how much I respect our party's platforms. And so I just want to say that. Additionally, I feel like I also need to tell you that despite the fact that that this isn't my first time speaking to you, I still am feeling very nervous. And I think that is because I really do care and I want this to go well. So fingers crossed. You know, one of the things that we hear a lot about is to like keep Claremont, Claremont. And I think that it's really important for us to remember that Claremont's legacy is not in its resistance to change, but rather in the intentional planning and management of growth.
How you doing, buddy?
I think it's, I think that, you know, despite the fact that our tagline, the city of trees and PhDs, can seem a little bit arrogant. And I think that that's something else to unpack. I think also the city of trees and PhDs, trees change and grow and have huge roots and give back much more than they take. And in order to get a PhD, you have to have a commitment to really studying what it is, what your pursuit is. And so I think that really our tagline, there is an element there that really could speak to the higher qualities of Claremont and our community, our desire to work together and to create a community that doesn't only create shade for oneself, but create shade that will be there for other people in the future, and to really make a difference with the issues that are facing us. Really, I understand that the position of city council is nonpartisan, but the party's platforms and the party's values inform my own values. I honestly believe that government exists in order to make people's lives better. And I believe that over the last 4 years in my first tenure as a city council member, I worked really, really hard to make my campaign promises come true. And what I ran on was less of a platform, but more of an approach to the issues. I wanted Claremont to be more equitable and inclusive. I wanted to improve communication, and I wanted for our government to be more accountable to the decisions and the results of those decisions. And I believe that I have stood by that. The year that I was mayor last year was entirely during lockdown. And I do believe that I was accessible to people. And I think that's a really important aspect of accountability. Accountability isn't just kind of taking a stance and leaving it at that. It's being accessible in order to hear how people's lived experiences are and what their issues are. Let's see.
Ben, can I jump in here?
Please, yeah. Otherwise, I ran
about 4 minutes, so we're gonna move.
Oh my God! So is nobody going to show me that 30-second sign?
I'm keeping time here, but I wanted to give you a little bit more time to finish up.
I was just kind of trying to fill the 2 minutes. So thank you for interrupting me. And if you could just maybe do like the TikTok, that would help me. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, Merle, you're up.
Jennifer, you
Yes.
say in your statement that you want to encourage more facilitated engagement, community engagement programs. I really think that's a great idea. However, there's problems getting people to attend to these things. How would you structure them in order to maximize community participation?
I think that's a great question, Meryl. Thank you so much. I think, first of all, it's really, really important that we use our community groups to help us figure out what times work for people and to schedule community engagements at different times in order to make it so that it's easier to come to these things. I think so often our meetings, the timing of meetings make it so that they're only available for some people and not other people. I think there's ways for us to reach out to harder to reach communities and find out better times. Additionally, I think that that the Zoom platform, the online platform, has really democratized the ability to be able to participate. Additionally, I think it's really important that people understand why they're so needed to participate in these kind of like community engagement or educational opportunities, because the decisions that are made are the direct result of their participation. And I think we just need to do a better job making everybody be invited explicitly and valued. And that's not just lip service, like actually valuing what we've learned from people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm up, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us and for taking the time to fill out our questionnaire in such a thoughtful and detailed way. I really wanted you to know that I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mike.
So I'm going to ask you a similar question that I asked another candidate earlier. Many people feel that the Village South was a missed opportunity to build transit-oriented low-income housing and to make a dent in our RENA obligations. And also, apparently, the Marie Callender's property is not going to be an opportunity for low-income housing either. That's, correct me, I may be wrong, but where do you see another opportunity for this kind of development, mixed development that provides low-income housing and access to mass transit?
Mike, I really appreciate that question. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about Village South and then future opportunities. It is my understanding that the Marie Callender's development will be held to our amended inclusionary housing ordinance. The reason why with Village South, I think that had a amended inclusionary housing ordinance come before literally the meeting that their specific plan was supposed to be approved, where feasibility studies could have been made, I would have been very supportive. It is very unfortunate that that didn't happen. That should have happened long ago, and that it didn't. I am willing to take responsibility for that, but to have an 11th hour amendment that had no feasibility study attached to it in terms of what that would do to creating the housing stock that they're creating, I think that would, to me, is the definition of lack of transparency. It wouldn't have given all the stakeholders time to contribute. So I just wanted to talk about that amended inclusionary housing ordinance should have happened months, years before, and I'm willing to take responsibility for that not happening. The only, it was lack of experience and lack of being assertive enough. Where I see the possibility of more affordable housing, I think that we need to realize that part of the housing that we also aren't addressing is the sort of middle type of housing. I think that there are vacant lots that we need to have a better expression of talking about density. I think that duplexes and quadplexes are an opportunity that we really need to address, and also remembering that the amended inclusionary housing ordinance will apply to all new build. I think that hopefully, the story of Larkin Place is not finished yet. I look forward to seeing what comes out from there, but I believe that affordable housing needs to be where we have it designated in our housing element. We need to move on that. I see that the golf course would be a tremendous place to work out workforce housing with the colleges. There's other areas, let's say our two largest employers are the school district and the colleges. We should be working with them more to create specific plans that include affordable housing in mixed use development. I hope that answered your question well enough. I think more density on vacant lots. so that we have mixed use in neighborhoods. Because where should people live? Neighborhoods.
Okay, Jen, I got the last question, and then you get a couple minutes to wrap up. So my question is, I read what you wrote about an answer to the question, what does it mean to you to be anti-racist? And I just want to invite you to elaborate in this way. What have been your specific contributions to the city's moving in that direction?
Well, I mean, the specific contribution I've had was to have anti-racism be a priority and to advocate for having a DEI audit that is coming. I think that we all need to keep an eye on that, and because that's something that's going to be tied to funding, and we all have to make sure that every dollar is well spent in that. But
Jen, we lost your audio. Jen, we still have lost your audio. So Jen, if you want.
Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. What was the last thing you heard me say?
About the DEI audit.
Okay, so that is something that was brought forward by me, but I have to be really honest about this. I don't think that any person taking credit for what gets done in collaboration is it's not my way, and I don't think it's really contributes to the process. This is all work that we do together. So in that, I am contributing to that mindset that I am not here to try to take credit for the work that we all have done together. I think that in terms of becoming a more anti-racist community, we have to be much better at identifying where systemic racism exists within not only our organizational structure, but also within kind of the bureaucracy of being involved. Additionally, and how that plays out in the policies we have. We have to acknowledge the fact that Claremont was built, with a lot of racist intent, driving the freeway right through. These are things that by acknowledging, it's not a way to wring your hands and feel guilty. You can't address a problem that you don't see. And by addressing these issues, we could, in a much more realistic fashion, begin to do better. So did that answer your question? Sorry.
Jen, thank you very much for your time. I'll give you half a minute to make any closing remarks because we have someone else waiting. So
how about if instead of making closing remarks, except for that, I'm super grateful, if there's time to take one more question, or would you rather I make a closing remark real quick?
No, we really just have one more minute. So.
I just really want to say that a lot of people, that this has been a tremendous experience for me, serving our city, and I really hope to be able to do it again. I think it's really important that we all lean in and do a lot more candidate workshops in community groups, in special interest groups, but I think the city also needs to contribute in bringing new leadership up.
Thanks, Jen. Jen, thank you very much for your time. Go enjoy the rest of your evening now. Thank you for being with us tonight.
This wasn't, I was so nervous, but I feel okay now. Thank you.
Okay, bye now. Hey, good evening, Javier. Are you able to hear me?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Of course, we've been at this for over 2 years and I still on mute.
Okay. So Javier, if you can go on camera too.
Yes.
That would be great.
There you go.
Okay, thanks for being with us here tonight. And what I'm going to do is whenever you're ready, you can begin by giving us an opening statement. I'll remind you that we are recording. And we'll be posting the recording to our club website for those who are unable to attend tonight. So whenever you're ready and you feel comfortable, you have a 2-minute opening statement, and then you'll have 3 questions. So go ahead.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to your meeting. I'm a lifetime card-carrying Democrat. My view is left of center. So thank you for this. Water is life. People are made of over 70% of water. Not surprisingly, we cannot survive without water for more than 3 days. Today, water is a growing concern not only for our region, California, but the world. We have challenges that involve the amount of water supply, water quality, and the affordability of water. All 3 challenges are interconnected. Today, we need new innovative solutions to meet these challenges, not failed approaches of the past. Our solutions is urgent. Our situation is urgent and must act with informed decisions, not politics. Our lives depend on it. My name is Javier Aguilar. I am an established regional planner with over 25 years experience in land use planning, transportation planning, community development, environmental justice. My experience includes preparing environmental assessments, impact studies, site suitability studies, transportation corridors, and socioeconomic analysis. In addition, I have advanced technical skills that include developing, applying, and managing various types of mapping techniques. Conducting economic transportation modeling and performing socioeconomic analysis. By working with public agencies, nonprofit organizations, and community groups, I have an in-depth understanding of public participation and its importance. Additionally, I am fluent in both Spanish and English. I am running for 3 Valleys Municipal Water Districts Division 3 because we cannot afford to let politics and failed policies continue to waste our precious resources. There is an urgency for our region, state, country to develop informed solutions to our water crisis. As a result of climate change, extreme events are happening more frequent and with severity. So the methods of the past are no longer effective in the meetings of today's challenges. Today, we're living with a hotter and drier seasons. Hence, we need to conserve more water and seek new technologies to increase our supply of water while maintaining the quality and affordability. We also need more transparency in the process while informing our constituents of our progress in formats that people easily understand. Truly, water is becoming a scarcer resource that is essential to life. So we must work collaboratively with all stakeholders through a transparent and thoughtful process to establish trust so we can move forward effectively.
Okay, thank you, Javier. Javier, you've gone over, so
okay, got it.
On to our questions. So Merle, whenever you're ready, please unmute yourself and pose your question.
Javier,
Yes,
you
sir.
would be on the board as a new boy. The history of the board is not one conducive to making changes. How would you convince the majority of the board to follow you where you want to go into the 21st century?
Data and science, sir. Data and science show that we need to move towards this way for practical reasons. I'm a technical guy, but I love people. So I will conduct alliances, but certain things cannot be compromised. With data and science, folks will encourage them to move forward. I'm blessed that I speak nerd, but I know how to translate nerd into plain English and plain Spanish. So I believe that this is gonna compel them to do the right thing because it's urgent. Our water supply is low and it's urgent and there's no more time for nonsense.
Thank you.
Mike, whenever you're ready, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Javier, for joining us tonight. And
sir.
I had a couple of questions I was tossing around, but I think I'm going to go with this one here. In your response to our questionnaire, you had mentioned aggressive tiered pricing for commercial users.
Yes.
To make water consumption pricing more fair. Could you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah. I guess last Thursday is when the governor came out with some sort of plan. And the big criticism was against farms, agriculture, and also commercial. They didn't really address that. And commercial and agriculture, they take a lion's share. But it's important because we have to come to some sort of agreement, because California is one of the largest producers of agriculture, right? And it's not only not economic because it employs a lot of people, but we need those farms with crops, because like I was in Imperial Valley, because that's part of our jurisdictions. With fallow lands, it creates problems with air quality. 1 in 4 children in Imperial Valley have asthma as a result of PM 2.5 and PM 10. So we need to have a serious discussion with these folks. Right now, I heard a talk by the head guy from the MWD. They give these guys lots of water, but they don't know how much to measure it. They can measure by acreage, but they have no way of measuring how much water they consume. So Peter Drucker said, we can't improve without knowing how to measure. We have to measure in order to improve. So it's a basic thing. Data and science, sir. Data and science. You know, we have to be practical. And you know, in Claremont, I looked at the numbers. I got the voter file, and I saw about no party preference is about 20%. So they don't really have a Democratic preference or a Republican preference, but I imagine a lot of those folks are practical. So there was a poll today, you know, saying that 9% of folks feel that the environment, climate change is an issue. And then like 16% said that, you know, our democracy. So I'm really going to go after this guy because he's a conservative Republican. And times have changed and he is not. So he has to go.
Okay, thank you, Javier. We're going to turn the question over to Carolee. Carolee, unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Javier, thanks for being part of this process. In May of this year, the Three Valleys Board approved $15,000 to join a new Solve the Water Crisis Coalition. And as I understand it, this money was for the initial 6 months of the organization. And I suspect it'll be a recurring renewal coming up in September. Now, as I understand this group, the Solve the Water Crisis Coalition, it's a group of water agencies, and their purpose is educational. And their audience is to be legislators and the state government. Now, I read up on it because I wanted to know where this money was going and why. So the coalition put out a document, and it said that there has been insufficient state investment in infrastructure, and there have been regulatory logjams. So in terms of water in California, where has the state insufficiently invested, and what regulatory logjams have there been?
Well, it's my understanding that in terms of infrastructure, we've underinvested for a long time. So, and water is something that we take for granted. So, a lot of the water, at least for the three valleys, it's my understanding that it comes from Northern California, from the Delta, and it doesn't come from the Colorado River, which the municipal NWD regulates. So we got to look at all process. I mean, at all different types of policies. In terms of political will, we also need to look at things like what Vegas does. They recycle 100% of water. Most of us are uneducated, so we might think that that's gross, but it's my understanding that it's cleaner than anything that we have currently. So the Hyperion plant in Hesperia is also experimenting with this. So I guess the political will is also going to be something that we have to move the needle on. And in terms of policies, that legislative policies, it's usually because of environmental type. My background is mainly in transportation. I work for a big transportation agency. So sometimes we overregulate. You know, sometimes it's good. We're not China, we're not Russia, thank God, that just produces things, but sometimes it just takes too long, especially in California. I've worked as a planner throughout the East Coast and the South and in California. So I've been able to see, you know, what politics does.
Okay, thank you, Javier. We're now at the end of time. So if you, I'll give you a minute and a half or a minute to make a closing statement if you wish, or to ask any questions, and then we'll conclude. So go ahead, Javier.
Okay,
This
so
part is
I
informal.
just want to conclude with two things. I have the background, the training, and the drive to change and develop the policies that will make a difference for us, our children, our grandchildren, and I respectively ask for your vote and support so that together we can address our water crisis through informed decisions and transparency. I'm also a native son of Southern California. We don't need a out-of-state messiah. We need somebody who knows Southern California. And I know the politics. I know the cascading effects of climate change. So I'm the guy. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Javier. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll have a decision in a couple days, and then you could check back with us then. So thanks
Great.
for sharing your thoughts with us tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the recording now.